Is property investing dead? It's September 2021 and property prices have absolutely rocketed all across the country and in many parts of the world. Now, as property prices go up, that actually means that it's harder for investors and first-time buyers to get the deposit together to buy a property. As a buy-to-let investor, the higher prices are, then that means that your deposit is higher. Also, stamp duty holiday has now ended, so the amount of money that you have to put down to buy an average house is significantly higher than it was a few years ago. That being said, it's much harder to get the returns that you could get back in the day, especially with things like the tenants' rights. Tenants now, if there's a bad tenant, to get rid of them is a process, it's expensive, and then you've also got problems like the tax changes, Section 24, that have meant that you can't claim your mortgage expense back as tax deductible unless you buy through a company, which of course means that you have to pay an accountant to do your accounts. So is the profit being squeezed out of buy-to-let property so much so that it doesn't make sense anymore to save deposits and buy a property and build a portfolio? Well, my thinking is, whenever the market changes, you need to be creative and you need to find new ways to win in property. Buy-to-let, vanilla, straightforward buy-to-let is less attractive than it was 5, 10, 15 years ago. I first bought my first buy-to-let property in 2009. It's now 2021. There's a lot of changes. House prices have doubled in value in most parts of the country. So what is the solution? How can property as a vehicle continue to be productive, profitable, and how can you recycle your deposits and get more for your money? Well, what I think property investors should start looking at now, instead of buying a property with the view to rent the property out and get a high return or a high yield, I think it's much more lucrative if you can find properties, instead of finding properties that would make good rentals, is to find properties that have got something wrong with them. Find a run-down property that's unmortgageable, or maybe there's no kitchen, there's no bathroom. If there's no kitchen or bathroom in a property, you cannot get a mortgage on that property. So all the buy-to-let investors, all the first-time buyers cannot compete with these run-down problem properties. How are you going to compete then? How are you going to buy these properties? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to, instead of getting a mortgage, you're going to buy them with a bridging loan. Now, some people are scared about bridging loans because they're expensive, they've not done them before, they're afraid of the unknown. However, when you know what you're doing, bridging loans can be a very good tool. So, let's say you find a rundown property. Let's say you agree to buy it nice and cheap and you buy it with a bridging loan instead of a mortgage. You're still going to need a deposit. You're going to use a bridging loan. This property is now effectively, as far as the seller is concerned, it's a cash purchase. There's no mortgage. Bridging is expensive, but it's also very, very quick. This also opens you up to auction properties and all of the rundown, nasty properties that nobody's interested in and nobody can compete with because they need a mortgage to buy their properties. Once you've bought these rundown problem properties, what are you going to do? Are you going to rent them out? Well, you can't because they're in such bad condition. So what you're going to do is you're going to fix these properties up. You're going to get a new kitchen, a new bathroom. You're going to, if there's a structural problem, you're going to fix it. Once you've done this, you've pushed the value of the property up. Now you'll find that the property is mortgageable, which means that it's suddenly going to be achievable a much higher price for that property. You're going to then take out a mortgage, and the mortgage is going to pay back the bridging company, and in some cases, it's going to pay you back more than the bridging loan, and you will get your deposit back in full. Then you can rent the property out. You've got your deposit back to go again and again and again. This strategy you've probably heard of as the buy, refurbish, refinance, rent. It means you can recycle the small money you have instead of leaving it down as a deposit on a buy-to-let property, meaning you can recycle your money and build a larger portfolio, making more profit. And this is the new way of investing in 2021. If you'd like to see an example of this done, I'd highly recommend that you watch a documentary that I made where I showed you the A to Z of finding, buying, refurbing, refinancing a property. I show you me doing this with one of my properties up north in Darlington. And if you'd like to watch that video, I'm going to leave it right up here for you to watch. Please also do like the video if you enjoyed this, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.